What if the most valuable treasure in human history is still out there, buried, hidden, or lost forever, and nobody can find it? Not a myth, not a legend, a real room, a real treasure. Gone without a trace, we are talking about a room made almost entirely of amber. It had gold, it had jewels, it had mirrors from floor to ceiling. It was so beautiful that people who saw it could not find words to describe it. Kings wanted it, emperors fought over it. The whole world called it the eighth wonder of the world. Today it is gone. Nobody knows where it is, and the people who got closest to finding it, some of them ended up dead. This is the story of the Amber Room. A story about power, greed, war, and secrets buried for over 80 years. A story that still has no ending. You will hear from the last people who saw it. You will follow the treasure hunters who gave their lives to the search. You will look at the suspects, the clues, and the cold, hard facts. And at the end, you will decide for yourself what really happened. Stay until the very end, because we're going to share one detail that most videos about this topic never tell you. A detail so specific it might change everything you think you know. You do not want to miss it. Let's go back to the beginning. To understand why the world is still searching for the Amber Room, you need to understand what it actually was. It was not just a room with amber on the walls, it was a statement. A symbol of wealth and power so extreme that nothing like it had ever been built before, and nothing like it has been built since. The year is 1701, Prussia, Northern Europe. A king named Frederick I wanted to build something that would make the entire world stare. He called in the best craftsmen in Europe and gave them one instruction: make it extraordinary. They used amber. Amber is not a typical building material. It is fossilized tree resin, millions of years old. It comes in shades of yellow, orange, gold, and deep red. When light hits it, it glows from within. It looks almost alive, and it is incredibly hard to work with. It is brittle, it cracks easily. Shaping it into panels and carvings takes enormous skill and patience. The craftsmen spent years on a single wall. The finished room was breathtaking. 6 tons of amber went into it. The panels covered the walls from top to bottom. Intricate carvings filled every inch. Mirrors made the room feel endless. Gold leaf covered every surface that was not amber. Precious jewels were embedded throughout. When candles were lit, the whole space glowed like the inside of the sun. People who walked into it said they felt like they were standing inside a dream. But the Amber Room did not stay in Prussia for long. In 1716, the Prussian King Frederick William I gave it as a gift to Peter the Great, the Tsar of Russia. This was not generosity. It was politics. Frederick wanted an alliance, and what better way to seal a deal than to hand over the most spectacular room ever built? Peter was overwhelmed. He reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world on the spot. He shipped it to Russia in 18 large crates and installed it in St. Petersburg, but even that was not its final home. Years later, Empress Elizabeth decided the room deserved something grander. She brought in architect Bartolomeo Rastrelli and told him to make it bigger and more jaw-dropping. More amber was added. More gold, more mirrors. The final version was installed in the Catherine Palace at Tsarskoye Selo, just outside St. Petersburg. It covered over 100 square feet. Its value today is estimated at over $500 million. Some experts say that is still too low. For over 200 years it sat in that palace. One of Russia's greatest national treasures, admired by millions, photographed, celebrated. It felt permanent, it felt safe, it felt untouchable. It was none of those things. Because in 1941 everything changed. June 22, 1941. The sun had barely risen, and then, without warning, everything changed. Nazi Germany launched the largest military invasion in human history. 3 million soldiers crossed into Soviet territory. Tanks rolled, bombs fell, cities burned. The invasion was called Operation Barbarossa, and it moved fast, terrifyingly fast. As German forces pushed toward St. Petersburg, the people inside Catherine Palace began to panic. They had something priceless inside those walls, and they knew what the Nazis did to priceless things. They stole them. Hitler had a cultural plan alongside his military one. He wanted to strip conquered lands of their greatest treasures and fill a massive museum in his hometown of Linz, Austria. His soldiers had a name for the operation: the Kunstschutz, an organized looting machine, trained soldiers, art experts, all with one job: find the treasures, take them, ship them west. The Soviet workers at Catherine Palace tried to hide the Amber Room. They decided to cover the amber panels with wallpaper and white paint. If the Nazis could not see it, maybe they would walk right past it. but amber does not cooperate with desperate plans. The moment they started sticking wallpaper to the panels, the brittle amber began to crack and crumble. The plan failed in front of their eyes. They tried to evacuate the room instead. It was too late. The German forces arrived at Tsarskoye Selo on September 17, 1941. Even half hidden behind crumbling wallpaper, the amber room was impossible to miss. The glow of amber peeked through the torn paper. Soldiers who had never heard of it stopped and stared. Word went up the chain of command immediately. A team of soldiers and art experts moved in. They worked with cold, precise efficiency. They had done this before in France, in Poland, in Belgium. They were professionals at taking what did not belong to them. They dismantled the entire amber room in 36 hours. Think about that. A room that took years to build, 6 tons of fragile amber, gone in a day and a half. They packed everything into 27 large wooden crates, loaded them onto trucks, and drove west. A German soldier named Paul Encke was present during those final hours. Years later he described the scene, the amber glowing even in dim light, the unusual care soldiers took with the panels, the strict orders from above. Nobody was to damage anything. Nobody was to pocket anything. This was going directly to the top. He said the crates were loaded in the early morning hours. Guards surrounded every truck. And when the convoy finally moved out through the cold autumn air, he said it felt like watching a piece of the world disappear. He was right. The crates went to Königsberg, an ancient German city on the Baltic coast, now called Kaliningrad in Russia. Königsberg Castle was a major cultural center under Nazi control. A museum director named Alfred Rode was waiting for the crates. He unpacked them personally. He reinstalled the amber room inside the castle. He was proud of it. He wrote about it. He showed it to visiting Nazi officials. Then the war began to turn. By 1944, Allied bombers were targeting German cities. In late August, British bombers struck Königsberg in 2 devastating raids. The castle was badly damaged. Fires broke out, buildings collapsed, and in the chaos that followed, the amber room vanished from the record completely. No report said it had been moved. No document gave a new location. No clear trail was left. Alfred Rode, the one man who knew exactly where it was, fell ill shortly after. He died in December 1945. His wife died days later. Both gone within weeks of the war ending, both gone before they could be properly questioned. Convenient, some would say too convenient. The 27 crates had disappeared. And the search that would consume the next 80 years of human history had just begun. The war ended in May 1945, the smoke cleared, and the world began counting what had been lost: lives, cities. Entire cultures gone, but the amber room left no grave, no body, no evidence. It had simply vanished. And nobody, not the Soviets, not the Germans, not the Allies, had any idea where it was. Stalin was furious. The Soviet Union launched an investigation immediately. Investigators went to Königsberg. They walked through the bombed ruins of the castle. They interviewed survivors. They searched Alfred Rode's records. They looked for the 27 crates. They found almost nothing. The bombing had been devastating. Entire sections of the castle had burned. Walls had collapsed. The investigators were sifting through ash looking for answers that were not there. And then the theories began. 3 major theories emerged, each with its own evidence. Each with its own problems, each with its own army of believers. The first theory is the simplest, and in many ways the most heartbreaking. The amber room was destroyed in the bombing. Some historians argue the amber panels, already fragile, could not have survived the intense fires of 1944. Amber burns, it melts, it turns to ash. A Soviet investigator named Alexander Brusov visited the castle ruins in 1945. He found small fragments of melted amber in the debris. He concluded in his official report that the room had most likely been destroyed. Case closed, not even close. Other investigators pushed back hard. 27 large wooden crates would have left far more physical evidence if they had burned completely. Nails, hinges, metal fittings, larger amber fragments. The evidence found was too small. Too clean, it did not add up, and so the second theory arrived. The amber room was loaded onto a ship and sunk in the Baltic Sea. In the final months of the war, the Nazis were evacuating looted treasures by sea. Ships loaded with art, gold, and stolen valuables were moving west. Some were sunk by Soviet submarines. Some were deliberately scuttled. The most famous candidate is the Wilhelm Gustloff, a massive German ship torpedoed by a Soviet submarine in January 1945. It went down in the Baltic with thousands of people on board, one of the deadliest maritime disasters in history. Some researchers believe the Amber Room went down with it. The timing fits. The location fits. Divers have explored the wreck. They have found many things, but not the Amber Room. The ship lies in cold, dark, deep water. Much of it has never been fully explored. Other ships have been suggested. The Steuben, the Goya, both sunk in the same period, both in the same waters. The sea keeps its secrets well, but the third theory is the one that drives people mad. Because it is the one that keeps the dream alive. The Amber Room was hidden, deliberately, carefully, and it is still out there, waiting. The Nazis knew the war was lost. Senior officers made a decision. They would hide the most valuable treasures in bunkers, tunnels, mines, and secret locations across Central Europe. They would come back after the war. When the chaos settled, when new identities were in place, this happened with other Nazi treasures: gold, art, documents. Entire collections were hidden in salt mines and underground vaults. Allied forces found some after the war. Others were found decades later. Some have never been found at all. Was the Amber Room one of them? A man named Georg Stein believed so. A former German soldier turned treasure hunter, he spent decades following the trail. He dug through archives, interviewed aging veterans, and traced old maps. In 1987, Georg Stein was found dead in a forest in Bavaria. He had been mutilated. The official conclusion was suicide. Almost nobody believed it. People close to him said he had recently made a breakthrough. He had found something. He was close to what? He never got to say. His files were confiscated. His research disappeared. The thread went cold forever. This is the part that makes people uncomfortable, because it suggests that someone somewhere still knows where the Amber Room is. And that someone is willing to make sure it stays hidden. The KGB had thick files on the case, but those files were never fully opened. Even after the Soviet Union collapsed, key documents stayed classified. Certain names were redacted, certain sections sealed. Why? What was so sensitive about a lost art treasure? Nobody has ever given a satisfying answer. What we know is this: 27 large wooden crates filled with 6 tons of amber do not simply evaporate. They went somewhere. They are somewhere. Or what remains of them is somewhere. And the people pulled in to find them next were not governments or intelligence agencies. They were ordinary people. Obsessed, determined, and armed with shovels and old maps. Let's treat this like a crime, because that is exactly what it was. The Amber Room was stolen by force. It was packed into crates and driven away in the dark, and then it disappeared. No crime scene tape, no forensic team, no proper investigation for years. But if we open the case file today, some very uncomfortable things emerge. Suspects, motives, witnesses who died too soon, files sealed for no clear reason. Let's go through them one by one. Suspect 1, the Nazi High Command. The Nazis took the Amber Room. That is not in dispute. The question is what they did with it after Königsberg. In the final year of the war, senior Nazi officials were making secret arrangements, hiding money in Swiss bank accounts, arranging fake identities, smuggling gold and valuables out through secret networks called Ratlins that ran through Austria, Italy, and into South America. Hermann Göring was one of the most aggressive art looters in the regime. Many senior officials treated stolen art as personal insurance for life after the war. Did someone in the Nazi High Command hide the Amber Room quietly? The evidence is circumstantial but real. Documents show senior Nazis knew the exact contents of the Königsberg collections. Orders were given in late 1944 to move certain valuables out of the castle, but the records of where those valuables went are missing or destroyed. Someone made those records disappear. That takes deliberate effort. Suspect 2, the Soviet double agents. Some researchers believe the Amber Room never left Soviet control at all. They argue Soviet intelligence agents located it before the official end of the war and moved it quietly back to the Soviet Union through unofficial channels. Then the Soviet government covered it up. Why cover it up? One argument is that the room was so badly damaged by then that returning a broken version was politically worse than claiming it was still missing. A missing treasure is a tragedy. A damaged one is a failure. Another argument is darker. Some researchers claim Soviet officials stripped the room of its most valuable components and sold them quietly on the black market. What remained was too incomplete to display and too dangerous to acknowledge. This theory has never been proven, but it explains something strange. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991 and classified archives were opened, researchers expected new information about the Amber Room to flood out. They found surprisingly little. As if someone had already cleaned out the relevant sections. Suspect 3. The black market art world. The illegal art trade is one of the largest black markets in the world, worth billions every year, and it has been running continuously since the end of World War II. In 1997, a single panel from the Amber Room turned up in Germany. It had been in a German soldier's family since the end of the war. The family came forward and returned it. It was authenticated. It was genuine. That single panel proved two things. First, pieces survived the war. Second, pieces ended up in private hands. If one panel stayed hidden in a family home for 50 years, how many others are out there right now? In storage units, private collections, attics, in the hands of people who have no idea what they are looking at. The black market angle suggests the Amber Room may not be in one place at all. It may have been broken up, sold in pieces, scattered, some melted down, some absorbed quietly into the shadowy world of illegal art, the deathbed confessions. Over the decades, several people claimed on their deathbeds to know what happened to the Amber Room. One man claimed the crates were buried in tunnel systems beneath Königsberg. He gave specific coordinates. Investigators found the tunnel system. It was real, but the relevant section had been flooded for decades. Another man, a former SS officer, claimed the crates were buried beneath a building in what is now Poland. He died before giving the exact location. His family found fragments of a map. It was incomplete. A third confession came from a woman whose father was involved in the final transport. She said he told her the crates never left Germany, that they were hidden in a salt mine in Thuringia, the same region where Allied forces found enormous quantities of Nazi gold after the war. None of these confessions led to the Amber Room. But none could be completely ruled out. Georg Stein, revisited. Stein was not an amateur. He was methodical and deeply connected to veterans with direct knowledge of events at the end of the war. He spent years building trust with people who had never spoken publicly. In the months before his death, people close to him said he was unusually excited. He told one associate he had found a document that made the location almost certain. He needed one more confirmation. He went to a forest in Bavaria to meet someone. He was found dead 2 days later. The investigation was brief. The conclusion was suicide. His body had injuries inconsistent with that conclusion. His research files were largely gone when investigators arrived. His most recent notes were missing entirely. The person he was going to meet was never publicly identified. If Stein was killed to protect a secret, it tells us something important. In 1987, over 40 years after the war, someone still had something to lose. The Amber Room was not just a historical mystery. It was an active secret, one worth protecting at enormous cost. What the crime file tells us, the Amber Room almost certainly was not destroyed in the Königsberg bombing. The physical evidence is too thin. The testimonies suggest it was moved. The 1997 panel proves pieces survived. Someone moved it, someone hid it, and someone has worked hard for 80 years to make sure it stays that way. The suspects are real. The motives are real. The deaths connected to this case are real. This is not a legend. This is a crime, the biggest art theft in human history, still unsolved, still active. The war ended 80 years ago. The official investigation stalled decades ago. The witnesses are almost all gone, and yet right now, today, people are actively searching for the Amber Room, not governments, ordinary people. Teachers, engineers, retired soldiers, people who read about it one day and never stopped thinking about it. People who gave up savings, careers, and years of their lives to follow a trail that keeps going cold, and then warm again, and then cold again. This is what the Amber Room does. It pulls people in. And it does not let go, the town that refuses to give up. In northwestern Poland lies a small town called Mamerki. Most people have never heard of it. But among Amber Room hunters, it is one of the most talked about locations in the world. Beneath the forests around Mamerki lies an enormous network of Nazi-built underground bunkers. A Polish researcher named Bartłomiej Plebińczyk has spent years studying this area. He compared wartime maps with satellite imaging. He interviewed local residents whose grandparents remembered strange activity here in the war's final months. His conclusion is that something significant was brought here and hidden underground. He believes the bunker system is far larger than officially documented. He believes there are sealed chambers that have not been opened since 1945. He has pushed for full excavation. The response from authorities has been slow, frustratingly slow, but Plebiscite goes back every year, takes new measurements, finds new anomalies. And every time he does, the story makes headlines again. The ground beneath our feet. Modern technology has changed the search forever. Ground-penetrating radar scans deep beneath the surface without digging a single hole. It sends signals into the earth and reads hollow spaces, metal objects, wooden structures, things that do not belong in natural soil. Teams have scanned dozens of sites across Germany, Poland, and Kaliningrad. They have found anomalies, underground spaces that should not be there, readings suggesting large objects buried at depth. The problem is that an anomaly is not the amber room. Underground bunkers are everywhere in this part of Europe. Every promising scan leads to an excavation. Every excavation costs money and time. And so far, none has produced the 27 crates, but researchers keep going back, because every few years something surfaces that reignites the search entirely. The Kaliningrad connection. Kaliningrad is a strange place, a small piece of Russia, cut off from the rest of the country, wedged between Poland and Lithuania on the Baltic coast. It was the German city of Königsberg until 1945. After the war, the Soviet Union took it, expelled the German population, and renamed it. Today it is a Russian city, but beneath it lie the bones of the old German one, old tunnels, old vaults. Old secrets. Russian researchers have long believed the Amber Room is somewhere beneath Kaliningrad. The logic is simple. The room was brought here. The bombing happened here. The most logical hiding place was somewhere in or around the city. The problem is that Kaliningrad is heavily militarized, a major Russian military base. Large sections of the underground are off limits to civilian researchers. In 2023, local officials announced new scanning had identified potentially significant underground spaces near the old castle site. Researchers from Germany and Poland requested access to collaborate. They were denied. The Russian government maintains a complicated relationship with this story. The Amber Room is a powerful symbol of Nazi crimes against Russia. But any serious investigation of what happened after it disappeared risks raising uncomfortable questions about Soviet actions in the war's final days. The official Russian position is that the room was destroyed in the bombing. Many Russian historians disagree, but in Kaliningrad, disagreeing with the official position is not always comfortable. The German couple who spent everything. In the 1990s, a German couple became convinced they had found the key to the room's location. The husband collected testimonies from aging veterans. The wife tracked down obscure wartime documents in regional archives. Together, they built what they believed was an airtight case pointing to a location in the mountains of Thuringia. They spent their savings, they hired an excavation team, they dug for months, they found wartime artifacts but no crates, no amber, no room. They did not stop, they spent more, took out loans. Their children grew up watching their parents pour everything into a hole in the ground. They never found the Amber Room. Their story has played out dozens of times across Europe since 1945. The Amber Room makes the impossible feel reachable. It makes the next clue feel like the final one. Psychologists describe it as a specific cognitive trap. The closer you feel to a goal, the harder it becomes to stop, and the Amber Room is designed, almost perfectly, to always make you feel close. The 1997 panel. We mentioned the single panel found in 1997, but the full story matters. The panel turned up in Bremen, Germany. A German soldier had brought it home at the end of the war. He kept it hidden. Told no one, carried the secret his entire life. After his death, his son eventually came forward. The panel was authenticated by experts from Russia and Germany. It was genuine. Physical proof that the room had not been entirely destroyed. Russia and Germany negotiated. The panel was returned to Russia. It now sits in a museum in St. Petersburg alongside the replica built in 2003, but its existence raises a question nobody has answered. If one soldier took one panel home, how many other soldiers did the same? How many panels are sitting right now in attics and basements across Europe, in homes of people who inherited them from grandparents and have no idea what they are looking at, the replica? And why it is not enough. In 2003, after 24 years of work and over $11 million in funding, a complete replica of the Amber Room was unveiled at Catherine Palace. Russian and German craftsmen recreated it using historical photographs and written descriptions. It is stunning. Visitors cry inside it. Standing surrounded by glowing amber and gold gives you an immediate understanding of why people have spent lifetimes searching for the original. But everyone knows it is not the original. The original was built by different hands in a different time, with amber from deposits that no longer exist. It soaked up 3 centuries of light. It was touched by Peter the Great. It witnessed the coronation of empresses. No replica carries that weight. That is why the search continues, where the search stands today. Right now, the search is more active than it has been in years. New scanning technology is being applied to old sites. New documents have emerged from Polish and German archives. A new generation of researchers is cross-referencing wartime transport records, railway logs, and supply chain documents in ways never possible before. Artificial intelligence tools are analyzing thousands of pages of wartime documents simultaneously, looking for patterns, looking for roots, looking for names connected to both the Königsberg collections and specific locations in Central Europe. No definitive breakthrough has been announced. But the field is moving faster than at any point in 30 years. And somewhere beneath the earth or behind a wall or inside a vault nobody has thought to open, 27 wooden crates may still be sitting exactly where someone left them in the chaos of 1945. Waiting, silent, patient, we have followed this story from a palace in Prussia to the ruins of Königsberg. From a Nazi convoy moving in the dark to a forest in Bavaria where a treasure hunter was found dead. From deathbed confessions to ground-penetrating radar scanning the earth in 2025. Now we need to stop and ask a bigger question. Why does this matter, not just as a mystery, but as a story about us, about what we value, what we destroy, and what we cannot let go of? What the Amber Room really was. The Amber Room was not just amber and gold and mirrors. It was time, it was labor. It was the work of human hands stretched over generations. The craftsmen who built it in 1701 had no power tools, no shortcuts. They shaped every piece of amber by hand. Some spent their entire working lives on this single room. When the Nazis took it in 36 hours, they did not just steal amber. They tore out a piece of living history. They took something that belonged to the world and made it disappear. That is an act of violence against all of us, not just against Russia, against everyone who values what human beings are capable of creating, the true scale of what was lost. The Amber Room is the most famous piece of Nazi-looted art, but it is not the only one. During World War II, the Nazis looted an estimated 5 million cultural objects from across Europe, paintings, sculptures, books, religious artifacts, entire museum inventories. The total value runs into hundreds of billions of dollars today. 80 years later, less than half has been recovered. The rest is still missing. The Amber Room is the symbol of all of it. Every time a new search begins, every time someone finds a hidden panel, it is a reminder that the accounting of that war is still not complete. The psychology of obsession. It would be easy to call the hunters foolish. Easy to say they wasted their lives chasing something that may not exist anymore, but that misses something important. These people were not irrational. They were responding to something deeply human, the need to right a wrong, the need to restore what was taken, the need to close a story left open for 80 years. If you talk to the serious hunters, they all say the same thing eventually. It is not about what the room is worth, it is about what it means. Finding it would mean the people who took it did not win completely. It would mean patience and human determination outlasted greed and violence and secrecy. That is worth more than $500 million. What happens when history disappears? When cultural treasures vanish, something happens to our sense of who we are. Objects carry memory. A painting is not just paint on canvas. It is a connection to the person who made it, the world they lived in, the moment they captured. When it is gone, that connection is broken. This is why UNESCO exists. This is why there are international laws against cultural looting. These objects are not luxury items. They are part of the collective memory of the human race. And when they are gone, that memory has a hole in it. What would you do? Here's the question we want to leave you with before we close. Imagine you find it. You open the sealed vault. And there in the darkness, after 80 years of silence, you see them. 27 wooden crates covered in dust, untouched since 1945. What do? Do you call the Russian government? The German government? Do you go to the press, walk away, take one small piece as proof? The legal ownership of the Amber Room is genuinely complicated. Russia claims it. Germany built it. Prussia no longer exists. International cultural heritage law is complex, slow, and often contradictory. And who do you trust with something this valuable? With something governments have been evasive about for 8 decades, these are real questions. Think about your answer, because it says something about what you believe, about justice, about history, about who gets to own the past. So let us bring this back to where we started, a room made of 6 tons of amber, built over years by master craftsmen, gifted between kings. Displayed in one of the most beautiful palaces on earth, stolen in 36 hours, and then gone, completely, mysteriously, maddeningly gone. For 80 years the world has been looking for it. Governments, intelligence agencies, treasure hunters, ordinary people with extraordinary obsession, all following the same trail, all hitting the same walls, all asking the same question. Where's the amber room? What we know for certain, it existed. That is not a legend. There are photographs, there are written accounts. There are people alive today whose grandparents stood inside it and described what they saw. It was stolen. Nazi soldiers dismantled it and shipped it to Königsberg in 27 crates. That is documented. At least one piece survived the war. The 1997 panel discovery proved it beyond doubt. Something made it out of Königsberg, and the full truth has never been told, not publicly. Not completely. The sealed files, the missing documents, the suspicious deaths, the redacted records, they all point to a story someone decided the world should not know. That story is still unfinished. What we do not know if the remaining crates are intact. We do not know if they are in one location or scattered across a dozen. We do not know if they are underground, underwater, or inside a building millions of people walk past every year. We do not know who Georg Stein was going to meet in that Bavarian forest. We do not know what he found. We do not know what happened to his missing research files. We do not know what is inside the sealed sections of the KGB archives. We do not know why certain names in wartime documents were carefully removed before those documents were released, but somebody might know. Somewhere in the world there may be a person alive today who knows exactly where the amber room is. A grandchild told a secret, a former official who kept a document he should have destroyed. A private collector who knows what they are sitting on. If you are that person, the world is listening. The reward we promised you. At the start of this video, we told you we had a detail most videos never share. Here it is. In 2004, a German researcher named Karl-Heinz Kubiak was going through wartime letters written by a low-ranking German soldier stationed in Königsberg in late 1944. Private letters, never published. Sitting in a regional archive for 60 years. In one letter from November 1944, the soldier described watching a convoy of trucks leave the city at night, heavily guarded, loaded with large wooden crates, but the convoy did not take the main road west toward Germany. It turned south, away from the coast. Away from every direction investigators had focused on for 80 years. South, toward the forests and mountains of Central Europe, moving quietly through the dark with no headlights. Just the sound of engines disappearing into the night. Kubiak published his findings in a small academic journal, almost no mainstream attention. Read by a handful of specialists and then largely forgotten. But if that soldier's letter is accurate, it means 80 years of searching may have been looking in entirely the wrong direction. The ships in the Baltic, the tunnels under Kaliningrad, the bunkers in Poland, all pointing north and west, while the real answer might be sitting quietly somewhere to the south, undisturbed, waiting. Think about that the next time someone tells you the amber room is gone forever. One last thing, history is not finished. It never is. New documents surface every year. New technology opens new doors every decade. People who kept secrets their whole lives eventually want to be honest, want the weight lifted. The amber room will be found, maybe not this year. Maybe not this decade, but it will be found. The trail is real, the evidence is real, and the people searching are smarter and better equipped than ever before. When that day comes, it will be one of the greatest moments in the history of archaeology and cultural heritage. The most beautiful room ever built by human hands will come back into the light where it belongs. We want you to be here when we cover that story. Before you go, drop your answer in the comments right now. Which theory do you believe? Destroyed in the bombing, at the bottom of the Baltic, hidden underground somewhere in Central Europe? Tell us. Because the comments on this channel are full of people who know things. People who have done their own research, people with family connections to this period of history. If this video gave you something, a new fact, a new question, a new perspective, do one thing before you leave. Hit subscribe. We make videos exactly like this every single week. Deep dives into the mysteries, the crimes, and the forgotten chapters of history that never get told properly. We are already working on the next one, and it involves another stolen treasure. Another disappearance, another trail that went cold and then very recently got very warm again. A story that connects directly to everything you just heard today. You will not want to miss it. We will see you there.